Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting today. I'm Gene Love, Chairman of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, and this meeting is being conducted pursuant to the notice provisions of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, with all participating authority members attending in person. This meeting is also being live streamed and recorded for remote viewing. While this meeting is open in public, there's no public comment scheduled for this meeting. The time's 10 o'clock, and I'm calling the May 2nd, 2023 regular meeting of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to order. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. John Jones.
Here.
Miss Dana Weber.
Here.
Mr. Will Berry.
Here.
Mr. Todd Cohn.
Here.
Mr. John Titsworth.
Here.
Mr. Gene Love.
Here.
We have a full quorum today.
Okay, and we do have some recognitions this morning, and I'd call on Secretary Gatz.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I have the great honor this morning of introducing the newly named OTA Chief Financial Officer and Comptroller, Ms. Julie Porter. So Julie has been with the Authority's Comptroller Division for the last 25 years. She graduated from Oklahoma Christian University of Science and Arts with a Bachelor's of Science in Accounting. Prior to joining the Authority, Ms. Porter worked over 5 years with a major accounting firm and served the Authority as one of its independent auditors. She began her direct employment with the Authority on April 1st of 1998 as the Assistant Comptroller, and was promoted to Comptroller in November of 2004. As the Authority has gone through our organizational transformation over the last few years, Julie has increased her duties, and certainly in 2021 took on some more responsibilities to include the oversight of cash management, reconciliation of the Pike Pass and the Plate Pay revenue streams. And as the Authority continues to look to normalize our modernization efforts, Julie's appointment is really going to help align all of our financial efforts under the oversight of the position. So we're super excited to have Julie serving in this role. And something you may not have known about Julie is she married her high school sweetheart, and they've been married for 31 years. They've got 3 daughters, and when Julie's not working, which is this time of year, not often, thank you for that, Julie. She teaches a 2-year-old Bible class for the Westside Church of Christ and volunteers with Girl Scouts and the Great Plains Leadership Training for Christ. So we are so fortunate to have Julie Porter as part of our team, and I'm very excited for her to step into this new role and be a part of the Turnpike Authority's bright future. So Julie, congratulations, and appreciate the opportunity to recognize her. One more thing that might be a little bit of a surprise to her, but I did mention that Julie had recently completed 25 years with the Turnpike Authority, and as such, I want to recognize her for her public service, and this is signed by Governor Kevin Stitt. Public service requires continuing commitment and dedication to the needs of the people of Oklahoma. The very effectiveness and efficiency of state government depends in large measure on the hard work and perseverance demonstrated by state employees. In recognition of the effort, contributions, and commitment to excellence of the state of Oklahoma employees, I hereby publicly commend you and say congratulations on a job well done. And that's for 25 years of meritorious service to the state of Oklahoma and to the Turnpike Authority. And Julie absolutely epitomizes the commitment to excellence. So, Julie, if you'd come up, and I'd ask the Authority Board maybe to stand for a little bit of a photo op.
And Julie, on behalf of the entire board, I'll tell you, we're excited too, so congratulations.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, we also have a Keep America Beautiful Award this morning to the Turnpike Authority, and we've got Jeanette Nance here with us to talk a little bit about this award, but it's one that the Turnpike Authority is no stranger to. We so much appreciate Keep Oklahoma Beautiful and the partnership that we have with them. And I want to recognize, Jeanette, certainly Rhonda has such a tremendous role in that coordination effort, but also Mark Kalka and the folks that work for him. Because it takes all of that effort and all of that coordination to make sure that we maximize the work that Keep Oklahoma Beautiful does, and it allows us to be a part of something there that is really special. Jeanette will tell you that they're in all 77 counties now in the state of Oklahoma, partnered with ODOT and the Turnpike Authority, and that relationship, I think, materializes in this award. That's national recognition, not just at the state level. So, Jeanette, if you wouldn't mind, please come up and I'd offer you the opportunity to talk a little bit about the award. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Absolutely. I'm not as tall as him. Mr. Chairman and Authority, thank you so much for letting me be here today. I really love this part of my job, but Secretary Gatz just kind of stole a few of my words, so I'm going to say them again anyway. But we appreciate what Rhonda has done in the 6 years she served on our board of directors, and I can't do what I do without a good board, and I appreciate her a lot. As well as the maintenance division of the Turnpike Authority, I know that they really help us accomplish our goals and our collection data. So I appreciate all of them. But for this award, each year we nominate the Turnpike Authority and the Department of Transportation for partnering with us in the Great American Cleanup. The Department of Transportation delivers our supplies that we sort at their warehouse all over the state. And we do have participating communities in every one of our 77 counties. We just found out yesterday morning that we accomplished that again this year. And the last volunteer group to register for the supplies to do a cleanup for us was actually the Beaver County ODOT office, the county office. So we very much appreciate this partnership. That's why I nominate you all every year. We couldn't buy some of the supplies without the support from the Turnpike Authority, and that's what we let Keep America Beautiful know every year. So as we begin to advertise that we have for 14 years had a community in all of our 77 counties, I want to thank the Turnpike Authority for what you all do for us. In 2022, the miles of road that our volunteers cleared with free supplies, so that, as you all know, negates government worker cleanup costs, would stretch from Oklahoma City to Delaware. So we appreciate our volunteers and our partnerships with our state agencies. So this is for you.
Mr. Chairman, if you'll bear with me, we'll have one more photo op, and Mark, if you and Rhonda would come up and.
Jeanette, we certainly hope you'll be back here again next year, so thank you for coming.
I'd just like to comment that I have friends that travel across many states, and including on our turnpikes, and they tell me every time that they know exactly when they cross over from Texas to Oklahoma, and it's because of how clean our roads are. So thank you.
The next item on the agenda is approval of our minutes for our regular meeting of April the 4th, 2023. You got a copy of that in your packet. I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved?
We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Berry?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth?
Abstain.
Mr. Love?
Yes. The next items of business are finance items, and I would call on Mr. Cohn for those items.
Thank you, Chairman. The first item is for Ms. Porter in her new role.
New role, same words. Today, item number 1064 is our payment register, and as we discussed last month, the payment register is given to you all so that you can have an opportunity to review. Your part in this today is to ratify the purchases that we have made. So I and staff have reviewed this item, and we recommend approval.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for ratification and approval of payment register for the month of March 2023.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Any questions or comments? Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Berry?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth?
Yeah.
Mr. Love?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Porter.
You're welcome.
Are you going to act as Joe for the next one?
With that, that's what we're pantomiming here. All right.
See, with her new role, she's able to dodge having to do some work already, so. Thank you. Item 1065 is being presented by the Executive Division. This has to do with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol Academy. So submitted for the consideration of the Authority Board is a resolution authorizing the Executive Director to enter into an agreement to amend the existing agreement with DPS for a financial contribution not to exceed $5 million for OTA's participation in the cost of the 2023 Oklahoma Highway Patrol Trooper Academy in the interest of maintaining proper trooper staffing levels on the Turnpike network and in support of driver safety and law enforcement. We've worked on this with OHP, and we recommend approval.
Any idea what our current staffing level is?
I don't know that number right offhand, but I know that Major Candidate is here, and he'd be happy to probably answer that.
I think we're authorized 127, and we've been down as low as 80-something. I don't know what it is now, but interesting.
I just happen to have those figures with me today.
Good.
So the complete authorization for all ranks on the Turnpike system is 142, 86, or 118 of those being troopers. Right now, overall, we are at 103 with 86 being troopers. So that's 71.8% staffing, or 72.5% staffing. Just as a note, the patrol as a whole at large is at 71.8. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, Mr. Chairman, our officers do a great job, and so I'm happy to move for approval of item number 1065, authorizing the director to negotiate and execute an amendment for $5 million for the Trooper Academy.
Okay, we have a motion. Just a comment. We all, everybody on the board knows how important the Highway Patrol is for the Turnpike Authority, and they just do an incredible job for us. And we've supported this academy for how many years now? 5, maybe? 5 or 6 years. And, you know, right now they have 22 in the academy. Only 2 have dropped out, which is pretty good because in past years we've seen as much as probably 30% drop out. So we hope to hang on to those 22 until the end of the academy. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Berry?
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Yes.
Went out of order for you, sorry about that.
The next items on the agenda are engineering and construction items, and I'd call on Mr. Berry for those items.
Thank you, Chairman Love. Item number 1066 will be presented by Mr. Gardner.
morning, Chairman, members of the board. I'll be presenting Construction Division's items. This item contains 8 supplemental agreements and change orders. Please stop me if there's any questions. First is CMC 29, CKT MC 23. This is the AET conversions on the Cimarron and Creek Turnpikes. This is with Manhattan Road and Bridge, supplemental agreement number 4, in the amount of $49,192. This supplemental agreement adds 1 new item to the contract. 13 8-inch galvanized steel pipe posts are added due to the proposed signpost being undersized for the corresponding roadway signage. The cost for this item includes all material, labor, and equipment necessary to perform this work. Next is EOC 2421. This is for the OTA maintenance facility located at I-40 and Peebly Road. This is with Treese Construction, change order number 5 and supplemental agreement number 2. This is in the amount of $62,682.96. It also adds 80 days to the contract. This change order establishes the final quantity for items on the original contract and those items added by supplemental agreement that deviated from the original quantity. Deductions or other adjustments associated with this contract will be identified in the final estimate. This change order also adds 2 new items to compensate the contractor for additional work. Additional earthwork was needed to compensate for the required final grade change near the outlet from structure number 1 to allow for adequate drainage towards the detention pond. Riprap was added to the ditch lining to prevent erosion from entering the detention pond. These pay items include all labor, material, and equipment necessary to perform this work. This change order also adds a total time extension of 80 days to the contract. Previously on change order number 3, 10 days were credited to the contract related to the addition of the necessary aerobic system. 56 additional days are being credited back due to the impact of the aerobic system had on the installation of the planned utilities in this area. Delaying these utilities caused subsequent delays to the final grading, stabilization, sidewalk installation, and asphalt surfacing of the parking area. 10 days are being added due to the planned grade discrepancies with the driveway extending west from South Peebly Road, which required regrading to achieve positive drainage of the property to the detention pond, which impacted progress on the work critical to the completion of the project. 14 days are being added to the contract due to significant weather impeding the critical path. Next, we have EOC 2451, 2452, 2453A, and 2474A. This was the surfacing project from north of Southeast 74th Street to south of Northeast 36th Street. This was TJ Campbell Construction, supplemental agreement number 12, in the amount of $50,700. This supplemental agreement adds 1 new item to compensate the contractor for additional erosion and stabilization repairs within the Kickapoo Turnpike corridor. Unclassified excavation is being added, which includes the work and rework of eroded slopes, undermined structures, and a number of miscellaneous grass bottom ditch repairs as identified by the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality for termination of the stormwater permit in the contract documents. The cost for this item includes all material, labor, and equipment necessary to perform the work. Next, we have INMC 62E. This is a cable barrier project between Hugo and Antlers with Built Right Construction. This is change order number 1 and supplemental agreement number 3 in the amount of $665,310.70. It also adds 20 days to the contract. This change order provides additional appropriations for the overrun of 2 pay items and establishes 1 new item to the contract. PC concrete for pavement and PC concrete pavement placement were overran due to the variable widths of the existing grass median that were encountered during the course of construction. Additional concrete pavement was necessary in order to properly tie into the existing pavement. A permanent crossover is also added near milepost 15, which will be utilized for the upcoming AET conversion of the Indian Nation Turnpike. This crossover will allow for more efficient construction and less impacts to the traveling public during the conversion process. Repair of cable barriers being added to the contract due to an accident damaging 60 cable barrier posts. Additionally, this change order grants 20 BBID days and 20 calendar days due to the increased scope of the pavement widening.
Do you have a breakdown of the add of the crossovers? The
Yes,
cost
it
on
was.
that?
It was about 45,000 of that total amount of the change order.
So basically the unevenness and the widening, when it was being done, was the main cost of the addition here?
It was, yeah, the grass median in the plans was about 15 feet, and when measured in the field, it was an average of about 16 and a half feet, which doesn't sound like a huge difference until it's over 16 miles.
Yeah,
It adds up pretty quickly.
okay.
I'm curious as to why we're including the repair on the cable barrier to the contract instead of having it be a maintenance item.
Since we're already in construction there, it's for the contractor to maintain the work zone, but we did get an accident report and we'll pursue reimbursement.
Okay, okay, good.
All right, next we have INMC 64 and 70A. It's the asphalt pavement rehabilitation from milepost 0 to 20 near Antlers. It's with the Overland Corporation, change order number 4, in the amount of $524,894. This change order establishes the final quantity for items on the original contract and those items added by supplemental agreement that deviated from the original quantity. Deductions or other adjustments associated with this contract will be identified in the final estimate. This change order also provides additional funding for asphalt binder adjustments, as change order 1 partially funded this item. This project laid approximately 84,000 tons of asphalt from April 2022 to September 2022 between milepost 0 to 20. Next, we have INMC 65. It's a bridge rehabilitation project over South Buck Creek near Daisy. It's with B&B Construction, change order number 2, the amount of negative $293,652.65. This change order establishes the final quantity for items in the original contract and those items added by supplemental agreement that deviated from the original quantity. Deductions or other adjustments associated with this contract will be identified on the final estimate. Next, we have JKT 2341. This is the interchange of Morgan Road and the JKT Turnpike extension. So with Do-It Construction, change order number 8 in the amount of negative $1,351,467.44. This change order establishes the final quantity for items in the original contract and those items added by supplemental agreement that deviated from the original quantity. Deductions or other adjustments associated with this contract will be identified in the final estimate. Last, we have JKT 2341B. It's the interchange of State Highway 152 and the JKT extension. This is also with Do-It Construction, change order number 8, in the amount of negative $2,067,477.93. This change order establishes the final quantity for items in the original contract and those items added by supplemental agreement that deviated from the original quantity. Deductions or other adjustments associated with this contract will be identified on the final estimate.
So what were some of the major items that, that resulted in these deductions on both of these?
I don't know what the items specifically were, but this is associated with the previously approved supplemental agreement number 14 for the claim settlement with Do-It, associated with all 4 of the contracts. So this is just the balancing of the contract.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Gardner? If no other questions, I move that we approve this item as presented.
We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Berry?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Mr. Titzler?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Yes.
My next item is item 1067, will be presented by Mr. Bradley Manhalter.
Good morning, Mr. Berry, Chairman Love, members of the authority, Secretary Gatz. Today from Engineering Division, we have 2 items that we are recommending approval and 1 information item. Item 1067 is 1 construction contract award. Contract HEB MC 65C is a Dalbar retrofit and diamond grind pavement rehabilitation project from milepost 46 to 62 on the H.E. Bailey Turnpike. This project will begin north of Lawton and extend northeasterly for approximately 16 miles. We were fortunate to have 5 bidders on this project. The low bidder was Interstate Improvement Incorporated with a Part A amount of $10,067,344.72. The low bid was 13.15% below the engineer's estimate. Engineering staff and the consulting engineer have reviewed this item and recommend approval. Any questions?
Any questions? If there's no other questions, I move that we approve this item as presented.
We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Berry?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Yes.
Next item is 1068. That's the ratification of declaration of emergency for emergency repairs to Bridge 31.3 on the Turner Turnpike near milepost 166.8. Submitted for consideration and approval of the authority is a request to ratify the Executive Director's April 17th declaration of emergency to repair Bridge 31.3 on the Turner Turnpike in Lincoln County. The memorandum is in your packet. On April 14th, Bridge 31.3 over the Turner was struck by an overheight vehicle. This bridge carries traffic to and from the Turner Turnpike to the city of Chandler and State Highway 18. Immediate repairs are necessary to restore the structural integrity of the bridge and to make it safe for the public traveling on and below the bridge. The work will consist of removing and replacing the east exterior girder and a portion of the bridge deck over the eastbound lanes. Traffic has been shifted away from the damaged portion of the bridge until the repairs are completed. With this ratification of declaration of emergency, the authority will also authorize the director to solicit proposals and award a contract for repairs that do not exceed $750,000. The executive director's declaration of emergency is in accordance with the Public Competitive Bidding Act, Title 61, Section 130. With that, I'll be open to any questions.
This may not be for you. Do we know whether or not the driver, if we got the driver, and did he have insurance? Are we being reimbursed for this?
We did not get the driver on this one. This was noticed early in the morning from the maintenance division.
This bridge is scheduled to be replaced when we continue with the access program. Are we keeping that in mind as we're deciding what to do?
Yes, ma'am.
I had another question, but I'll have to think of it. I forgot it.
I think this is the same bridge that's been hit a number of times, so.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, it has been.
In your report, it talked about, it's registered for 14.1, but with some of the, it talked about possibly lowering that. Have we looked at that yet?
Raising it.
Well, we're eventually
Yeah.
going to raise it, but I
Yeah.
meant until the repairs are done.
So we're looking at some options. The bridge repair project that we have in place, or that Olson and Associates are working on, is going to replace that exterior beam with a shallower beam. So we're going to gain a few inches there. And then at some point in time, we plan on looking at either a bridge raising or a pavement lowering project as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If there's no other questions, I move that we approve this item as presented.
We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Berry?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Yes.
Next item is item 1069 and 1070 that will be presented by Mr. Gore.
Morning. Today, item 1069, I bring to you a contract modification for on-demand right-of-way services. Submitted for consideration of the authority is a request for the following items to be approved, disapproved, and a summary items as follows. On-demand consultant service contract, modification number 2 for right-of-way services with Coach Field Services for the not to exceed amount of $250,000. This modification is for additional funds to extend the existing contract. The on-demand consultant service agreement is renewed annually for a 1-year period, which originally commenced June 1st, 2021. The amount due under this contract mod number 2 shall be not to exceed $250,000 and will terminate on May 31st, 2024 with a revised contract amount of $620,000. Your staff has reviewed this and recommends your approval.
Any questions for Mr. Gore? If no other questions, I move that we approve this item as presented.
We have a motion for approval of item 1069. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Barry?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Yes.
Item 1070 is authorized to provide a permanent easement for parcel MU 100 and MU 101 on the Muskogee Turnpike at Bridge 32.78. Submitted for the approval of the authority is a request to authorize the director to allow a permanent easement of 0.18 acres, more or less, located in Section 8, Township 15 North, Range 19 East, in Muskogee County. The Port of Muskogee is requesting an easement to expand, modernize, and improve the railroad infrastructure to the port that runs under Muskogee Turnpike at Bridge 32.78. This easement will allow additional track alignment north of the existing alignment, which requires replacing the existing slope wall with a soil no wall. The staff has reviewed this property to be conveyed by easement and has determined that the easement will not interfere with any construction or maintenance needs of the Muskogee Turnpike. And you'll see there, I've included pictures, the rough layout of where that easement would be. There's a small stretch that's actually underneath the bridge itself.
Any questions? If no further questions, I move that we approve this item as presented.
We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Barry?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next items are information items only from the engineering division. Mr. Manhalter?
Again, our last item is the bid opening for TER 036. It was opened on April 13th for the emergency bridge repair to bridge number 44.2 near milepost 179.5 on the Turner Turnpike. Built Right Construction was the low bidder in the amount of $41,426.86. And with that, we open to any questions that you may have.
What's the height of this bridge?
This, I believe, Jimmy, this is 14.6. Is it 14.6? Yeah.
And do we know who did it?
I don't think we don't have the record on this one as well. Again, this was noticed by the maintenance staff early one morning.
Okay, thank you.
Brad, I had a question for you. Is the difference in what the original estimate was done by Olson as a result of being an emergency?
Part of it was emergency. The one pay item, it's a lump sum pay item for bridge repairs, and that lump sum item was the highest of the items in the contract.
Okay, thank you
Any
very
other
much.
questions?
The next items on the agenda are our reports. We have one from TJ Dill. You going to run in this?
Well, absolutely not. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the authority. Item for discussion today is the 2023 Ironman Triathlon race event. We were contacted back in November of 2022 about potentially being a partner in this event. And to your point, I wasn't quite sure what all an Ironman entailed, so I did a little research, and I can assure you I am not participating for any reason.
Mr. Berry can tell you what
That's what I heard,
entails.
yeah. I'm going to keep that to him, and I'm going to stay in my lane and volunteer if needed, but that's not my thing. So, whenever they had contacted us, obviously a few questions arose. Wasn't quite sure what they wanted out of the Turnpike Authority as far as a partner on this project. And then after some discussions with the city of Tulsa, it became apparent that our river crossing there on the Gilcrease over the Arkansas was what they were looking for to be a part of the route, specifically for the cycling portion of this event. So after several conversations, we did reach an agreement to help facilitate this race. We will be closing down the southbound lanes of the Gilcrease from US 412 to south to 21st Street. and that'll be on Sunday, May 21st, from about 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the evening to facilitate this race. And Mr. Chairman, if I could, there's a couple individuals here that I'd like to recognize to come speak about the event. Today I have Jed Cochran, who is the Chief of Intergovernmental Relations for the City of Tulsa, as well as Matt Stockman with the Tulsa Chamber.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. On behalf of Mayor G.T. Bynum and the City of Tulsa, we'd like to thank you all for your consideration and the time for this. As TJ said, this is a very unique opportunity to highlight the City of Tulsa, Green Country, Northeast Oklahoma, and the state of Oklahoma on an international basis. So we'll have several hundred international-based athletes that will be competing in this. I will not be competing in this. So it takes me a while just to drive 140 miles, let alone swim, bike, and run that. But we are very excited on this partnership between, it's been several years in the making with partnership with the city, county, tribal government, state, now OTA on this. But would specifically like to thank Joey Kelly, TJ Dills on their work with this, and would like to turn it over to Matt Stockman. He is the Director of Events and Experience for Visit Tulsa. He'd like to highlight some of the benefits for the region and state. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and Board, thank you all for having us here today. And on behalf of Tulsa Regional Tourism, Tulsa Regional Chamber, and Ironman Triathlon group across the country, we thank you all for being a part of this event with us, being a partner with this. It really is the partnerships like this that make this event a success. This is an international event with over 20 countries represented that will be coming to Oklahoma and Northeast Oklahoma over that weekend. We're expecting a $6.4 million direct economic impact, primarily on this Tulsa region, as well as an 11.2 total economic impact. So this is a large event and really puts Oklahoma on the international stage. And again, we could not do it without partnerships of groups like you all, and so we thank you. We're looking forward to a great event. And this is really, so a fact about this event, it was actually voted by the athletes as the Athlete's Choice best run course, global run course out of all the Ironman events globally. Well, now we're going for the bike course, and that's really our goal here with getting on this road, is really to provide that same level of experience for the cycling portion as we do for the run. So we sincerely appreciate it.
You mentioned participants from 20 countries. How many participants are you expecting total?
We're expecting about 2,000.
2,000.
Yes.
Well, personally, I think it also is a great opportunity for us to showcase that beautiful new expressway that I drive frequently.
Yes.
So I think it'll be great to get all these people on that piece of road.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. How about that?
I hope that's good. I can hear you fine.
Our next reports are our reports. First one is from the Highway Patrol, Major Kennedy.
Morning, feels like I was just up here.
That's because you were.
First off, I'd like to thank the board for their continued support. Just looking over some statistics in the past, it looks like since 2016, OTA has contributed nearly $18 million toward patrol academies to help us put manpower out on the turnpike. I talked about some stats earlier today. If we're able to graduate our current number, that will put the turnpike staffing at about 88%. So not 100, but a lot closer to that goal. But again, I really appreciate and want to express my gratitude for your continued support of our shared mission. So, thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go to my report. I wanted to say that first. So,
Okay.
So Chairman, members of the Authority, Secretary Gatz, Director E. Kelly, for the month of March, Turnpike troopers made 3,782 violator contacts. They assisted 769 motorists and investigated 140 motor vehicle collisions. They worked 1,058 shifts and averaged 168 miles per shift for a total of 177,000 miles. We did have 2 fatalities, both on the Turner. One was a pedestrian who was in a previous accident and was struck after exiting their vehicle, and the other was a driver falling asleep, and then the vehicle departed the roadway and struck the wall. We had 10 criminal interdictions on the Turnpike system. I've included specific information on commercial motor vehicle enforcement, aircraft, toll enforcement, motorcycle enforcement, and collision reduction in reports for review. So I'll stand for any questions.
As always, Eric, thank you for what you and your troopers do for the Turnpike Authority. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Our next report is from our consulting engineer, Jimmy Sparks.
Morning, Chairman Love, members of the authority, Secretary Gatz. Concerning our trust required services, we are well underway with our pavement, bridge, and drainage culvert inspection for the 2023 report. And as always, as we compile the reports, we look at the ratings of the various in-service assets and in-service facilities, and we always keep in mind the need for capital improvements and the reinvestment needed. You know, when we speak of the Reserve Maintenance Fund, which is the minimum amount of reinvestment that we certify, we look at as we look at those, we look at projects that, if not addressed in a timely manner, would that asset may drop into a, say, less than satisfactory service rating, as you know, according to industry standards. So I was looking back at looking at the 2023 budget, and we identified over $500 million in roadway and bridge projects over the next 5 years, and our reserve maintenance amount for that is only around $227 million. So, you know, much more, over double the as we see, the necessary investment. But when you have an aging system, that helps keep our assets ahead of the deterioration curve, and that, coupled with you know, with outstanding maintenance, allows the system as a whole to operate at very high service levels. So just wanted to kind of highlight that. Have been reporting on the number of special overload trucks that travel across the Turnpike system. In April, it's down a little bit, only about 9 overloads, but again, we're still seeing a lot of activity there. Last month, reported on some overheight damage to the last bridge on the B section of the Bailey at US 77 at Randolette. I think I said we'd do a report. We did not do a formal report, but we're working with maintenance and construction divisions to make those needed repairs. Report did contain the assessment of the impact to Bridge 31-3 on the Turner, but the highlights were actually covered very well by Brad and the E&C. So capital plan project summary is in our monthly report, and always happy to answer any questions.
Is any of that deficit covered in our Access Oklahoma? Is Access Oklahoma include some funds to continue to improve that would be covered?
Yes, and one of the, over time, you know, we always had a couple of segments of the Turner Turnpike in our capital plan, and the access, by reconstructing, that allows those funds that were every 8 to 10 to 12 years, when you're in doing a particular segment of the Turner Turnpike, for example, you're able to allocate that elsewhere and look at some of our older concrete pavements or bridges. So, yeah, exactly.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Jimmy. Our next report is our trustee report. Rachel Singleton.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. As bond trustee to the authority, all monthly debt service transfers were made for the semi-annual payments due to the bondholders as required by the trust agreement. The semi-annual debt service reserve fund valuation has been provided to the authority and also required by the trust agreement. To our knowledge, all other requirements set forth in the trust agreement have been satisfied, and certainly open to questions on my report.
Any questions? We always like that report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Singleton. The next reports are our operating results and financial condition. Wendy Smith.
Chairman Love, Secretary Gatz, members of the authority, you've all received your operations report for March prepared by the Comptroller Division, as well as the copy of the annual comprehensive financial report, the culmination of the authority's annual audit. And you can also find that on our website. The OTA continues to be in a strong financial position and in compliance with its trust indentures, as was just reported by our trustee. On January 3rd, 2023, I wanted to point out that we did make our $137.5 million principal and interest payment that was due. And it's also important to note that the authority has never been in default and has made all of its debt payments on time in the last 70 years. Each month, I thought I would kind of talk about the 507 transfer because the trustee kind of talks about that, so I'd kind of like to kind of explain that. So the Section 507 of the authority's trust indenture establishes a flow of funds with which the authority must comply. The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority must deposit all the revenues from its operations into the revenue fund on a daily basis, and all monies in the revenue fund at the end of the month in excess of allowable budgeted operating expenses are transferred and deposited in a certain order. So the first transfer is the authority's first priority, which is the debt payment. So we put in 1/12 of the principal and 1/6 of the interest in order to be able to make those debt payments, because we also have one July 1, which is interest only. Next, we take a look at our debt service reserve fund. Because we also have 1 year of debt service that also sits in a reserve fund. And we make sure that that actually has the right amount. If there's any deficiencies, we top that off. Right now, it happens to be slightly overfunded. The next thing that we do is we make sure that we comply with the reserve maintenance fund that we put in for the purpose of paying certain maintenance expenses, and the authority's consulting engineer actually tells us what that deposit needs to be every year. That one we're completely in compliance with as well. And finally, after all of those deposits are made, the excess balance is deposited to the general fund, which can be used for any lawful purpose of the authority. So we've made all those required deposits for each month in 2023, as reported by the authority's trustee, and as shown in the authority's March operations report, for the first 3 months of 2023, after making all of those required deposits, the authority has managed to transfer in excess of $22.9 million to its general fund, as compared to the $6.9 million that was actually budgeted. This is due to total revenues outpacing projections by 1.6%, higher than we actually thought there would be for interest income, as rates have gone up, a milder winter when compared to the last couple of years, and the prudent management for the operating expenses that OTA management staff has managed to keep 20.2% below budgeted projections. But even with all of those positive numbers, pausing the access program was the right decision. It was prudent. We continue to wait for a validation decision from the Supreme Court. We remain in strong financial position, but with the delay in access to the bond market, it no longer makes financial sense to keep spending money out of the general fund without a clear timetable. This not only protects the funding for the needed capital projects that you see every month on the agenda, but also keeps cash on hand in the case of any unforeseen events. And after what we went through with COVID, obviously, sometimes we have unforeseen events. And finally, I just believe that this decision reflects the authority's good management of its financial operations, as it continuously is pointed out by all 3 rating agencies and helps keep our outstanding bond ratings of basically the equivalent of a AA- from Moody's, S&P, and Fitch, respectively. I'm going to let the secretary in his report talk about the Gilcrease numbers. You have any questions?
Not a question, but that is an excellent report, Wendy, and we appreciate you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for going through all that. The second thing is just a request on the exhibits related to the exhibits 36, 37, 38, 39 that talks about the interoperability.
Mm-hmm.
You list all those different, in the key, all the different interoperable agencies by initials. I have no idea what some of those are.
Okay.
So would you mind putting a key somewhere in the operations report
Sure.
that says, that names all those?
That's an easy clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next report is our director's report. Secretary Gatz.
Mr. Chairman, board members, first and foremost, I couldn't agree more. The report Wendy just delivered, I think, is a statement about our continuing and ongoing efforts to make sure that we're talking about our financial condition in a more detailed manner, and doing that in the public forum that's offered in the board meeting. So again, I appreciate the efforts that Wendy and the financial team have gone to really emphasize what the Turnpike Authority's financials look like, and we'll do that month to month. That's part of an ongoing initiative that we have to take a look at everything. Whether that's the information that gets posted out on our website, which is going through a modernization of its own. We'll continue to work on an upgrade to the website that makes our information more accessible. And what I mean is, sometimes government websites in particular are not all that intuitive. And if you have to click more than 2 or 3 times to find what you're looking for, the folks that are looking for it are probably going to lose interest. So we're redoubling our efforts to make sure that the information that we consider to be critically important is easily accessible on our website. Because again, that's our primary location that folks are going to go to seek information. So again, that'll be an ongoing effort. Look for some changes. We'll certainly keep the board apprised of how that effort is bearing out, but it has some complexities to it that our IT folks are working on, that our financial folks are working on, and so that effort's ongoing. But I do want to make you aware of that, and again, applaud Wendy and the team for really bringing meaningful information to the board in the context of that operations and now financial condition report. So I appreciate the board's recognition of that. I want to provide a brief update on the Attorney General's investigative audit request. The status of the investigative audit really hasn't changed since the last board meeting. The Turnpike Authority has resources engaged and ready to respond upon their request. The thing about this time of year, without hesitation, I'll tell you the state auditor is extremely busy, just because it being at the end of the state fiscal year. They've got a tremendous amount of workload on their plate, and as soon as they can see their way clear, I'm sure they will reach out to us. And again, the thing that we can do is be absolutely prepared to respond and provide whatever resources they need to advance that initiative. The thing that Wendy reiterated, and I want to reiterate again, is that I am confident that the auditor will find OTAs, both our internal controls and our financial house, to be in order at the end of the day. So, since the last board meeting, as Wendy alluded to, we have paused the Access Oklahoma program, and I want to talk just a little bit about that, and I know I outlined the reasons for that pause in the letter that I provided to the board, but the executive team and I really sat down. That's not an easy decision to make. Matter of fact, the easy decision would have been to keep going. But that in of itself violates some of the most important financial controls that we have. And the reason that we have to call a pause is because the Turnpike Authority, for programs like Access Oklahoma, especially in the context of the long-range plan and the initiative that we put in place, has to rely on bond proceeds to advance those programs. And right now, with the Supreme Court validation hanging in the balance, with other litigation ongoing, we have to be mindful of that. And until we can see our way clear to access those bond markets and get the bond revenue that we're going to need to deliver these programs, we have to call a pause. And you can't part and parcel projects out of the Access program and be selective about what we want to go try to accomplish. It is a 15-year long-range plan. We have to speak to every piece of it. So that's kind of where we're at right now with the stoppage of the Access program, and that delays our progress. The thing that I want to reemphasize to the board is that does not diminish the needs that exist out there on our system. You heard Jimmy Sparks with Olson talk about investing back into the Turner Turnpike as an example allows us more opportunities to use maintenance dollars at other locations that'll need it as we improve the Turner. So that's part of this. And introducing new access points on the existing network is extremely important to the communities that we serve. And we're going to have to find ways to do that, but we have to see our way clear in the context of the long-range plan in order to accomplish it. So we'll continue to be diligent. We will continue to keep the board apprised of the progress being made there and any changes in the legal aspects of Access Oklahoma. But I think it's important for us to realize and understand that everything the Turnpike Authority does is in the interest of providing a better future for the state of Oklahoma and the citizens that we serve. And part of that is providing safe transportation opportunities and working closely with the Department of Transportation to make sure we're doing all we can do. And I don't want us to ever lose sight of that. So, and that leads me into a little bit of a conversation about the Gilcrease. Certainly appreciate Jed Cochran and representing the mayor, Mayor Bynum of Tulsa, because the Ironman in itself is a unique opportunity, and to kind of stay with the cycle, there's no way that I'll be participating in it. Mr. Berry, I understand that the commitment that it takes to be one of those 2,000 participants is significant, and it's not something that I've got on my bucket list. So, but we are really excited to be a partner in that, because I think it does. The quality of life here in Oklahoma is on the rise. And I think the commitment to health and welfare of our citizenry shows in events and participation like the Ironman and what that's going to do, and the Oklahoma Memorial Marathon that was just run here in the Oklahoma City area, and watching the Oklahomans that participate in that is certainly encouraging for our future. So again, Turnpike Authority is proud to be a part of the Ironman, and look forward to the success of that program now and into the future. So, talk a little bit more about the Gilcrease and the transactions that are occurring. I want to give you the metrics on the newest Gilcrease Expressway Turnpike. We're approaching the 6-month mark of it being open to traffic, and I think that's a good opportunity for us to benchmark the performance of the Gilcrease. Opened last November. 60 years plus in the planning and design for construction of that facility. That unique partnership that we talk about, that's state, Turnpike Authority, local, both City of Tulsa and Tulsa County participating, and federal. Very unique in itself. And over that last 6 months, we've seen traffic on the facility ramp up and exceed expectations. Right now, we've set a new single-day record with more than 22,000 transactions on a day in April, and we are also nearing a 20,000 transactions per day average performance on that facility. And the really encouraging part of it is about 80% of those transactions are Pike Pass users. So again, I think the performance metrics are more than aligned with what we expected and exceeding some of our expectations. And we're still in ramp up. It's only been open 6 months. It'll be a couple of years before we really start to understand how that facility is going to perform. But right now, we're extremely excited about where it's at. And it is, and I had the opportunity to drive it again recently, and I could not be prouder of the transportation opportunity that offers for West Tulsa. I think it's going to open up so many transportation end results that are going to be really exciting. And that just, you know, the river crossing is just a part of it. That Arkansas River has been such a barrier for that area for so long. And to have that crossing opportunity is really exciting. So proud of where the Gilcrease is at, and proud to give you a favorable report about where the transactions are tracking.
Can you imagine the ramp up in transactions once the loop around the west side of Tulsa is completed in the future?
It only will add to the performance levels. And again, you're talking about another example of an investment in Tulsa and Oklahoma's future. And we have to be mindful of that. And and do everything that we can on the transportation front to try to address those long-recognized needs.
Dr. Gatz, what did we project we were going to have in the traffic by this point in time? Do we have a projection for that?
I'm going to turn and see if Wendy has got the number.
I don't, I'm sorry. I'll see if I can get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't 22,000 transactions, and I know,
That's true.
yeah,
It is outproducing.
yeah, I know we're exceeding that, but we'll get you the metrics.
Yeah, and for the benefit of the board members that didn't hear the conversation that I had with Julie and Wendy earlier today, they are going to be adding some detail on Gilcrease to the reporting so that we'll have access to that every month in the future.
Very good. Yeah, and as always, if any board member sees additional information that we can add to enhance, clarify, or that you believe is missing from any of our reports, please call that to our attention, because we'll be responsive, and because we always want to provide the best information at the highest level that we can. I want to talk for a minute about the H.E. Bailey, and I think we've got maybe a picture or two to come up. We've officially reopened the mainline toll plaza on the Bailey Spur. And again, if you'll recall, this is an area where the Pike Pass lanes were actually to the outside of the center-based toll plaza, much like my nemesis, which was the Newcastle toll plaza on the Bailey, where toll plazas in the middle, free Pike Pass travel was to the outside lanes. The before and after, I think, illustrates what we're talking about when we talk about the opportunities to have an accident in a toll plaza. Because what you see there is mainline free-flowing traffic that is only made possible because of plate pay and the investment that we've made in that technology for the safety of the folks that are out there using the Turnpike network. And that is a primary example. So I really appreciate the before and after picture that they were offered, that we were able to record, because I think that, again, really emphasizes what we're trying to accomplish with plate pay. Reducing those opportunities for conflicts, those opportunities to have accidents, because that, as we've talked about, our most dangerous location on the Turnpike network was at a toll plaza, where you have 3 opportunities to have an accident: when you exit, when you stop to pay the toll, and when you re-enter the mainline traffic. And that is a safety concern, not just for the folks that are paying the toll via cash. It's a safety concern for the folks that have gotten a Pike Pass or using a toll tag, maybe an interoperable tag, and are using those free flow traffic lanes, yet might be impeded or potentially involved in a collision by one of those cash toll plazas. So I very much appreciate the board's support for the investments that it's taken to move and advance plate pay, because that's what we need to be doing for the future.
While we're talking about plate pay and so forth, I know we're looking at various methods for paying for people that don't have Pike Passes or interoperability agencies. And there was an article in the IBTTA about a new system that's come up, Conduit, which we haven't heard of previously. Are we going to add that one to the systems that we look at as we're moving forward?
We will, and I'm not specifically familiar with what Conduit is. I'm sure we've got some folks that are, because we are looking for absolutely every opportunity to, and again, plate pay is the least desirable way for Turnpike patrons to be able to pay a toll. That's the least desirable. We will look for every opportunity to reduce the cost of those transactions for those that, for whatever reason, choose not to have a toll tag, a Pike Pass in particular. But we'll look for every chance to reduce costs, and we are paying absolute attention to the new technologies that are developing. We've recently implemented the toll app, and we're looking for other opportunities to introduce and expand on that offering. And if Conduit's got something that we need to be paying attention to, we absolutely will. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, and we'll dive into that and see exactly what they've got going on. So. Couple things that I think it's helpful to talk about, and we had our Transportation Commission meeting yesterday with ODOT, and I really put an exclamation point on construction work zone awareness. We're going to have lots of construction out on the Turnpike network as we come into the summer, whether that is our partner contractors out there making progress or whether that's Mark and his team that are out there performing work on the roadsides. It's always disruptive to traffic, but I want to start as part of the director's report emphasizing some of the locations that are significantly disruptive. And we've got a couple right now that are going near Miami on State Highway 125. The Department of Transportation is replacing the 125 bridge over the Will Rogers Turnpike, and that is about as disruptive as it gets. We are going to have periodic closures of the Will Rogers to facilitate that replacement. So we're having to detour traffic, and tonight we'll be fully closing the eastbound lanes overnight in order to facilitate the removal of some of those bridge structures. Similar closures are going to happen in the westbound lanes overnight this week and into next week, and doing an overnight traffic shift at Bonita next week, which will put traffic head-to-head as we continue to make those improvements in partnership with ODOT. So we want the traveling public to be aware of construction projects like that are significant and that are going to continue to cause problems. And I also want the board to be aware of that because a lot of the conversations I have with you are a result of you asking questions about what's going on out at a particular location where you're getting questions about disruptive traffic conditions. Will Rogers is going to be narrowed to one lane in each direction also near Adair in Mays County, and that'll be through the summer, and that's a reinvestment back into the network in the form of a pavement rehabilitation. So I want the traveling public to be aware of that, and as always, we want the traveling public to be patient with us while we're having to make improvements and do construction work and be careful in construction work zones. Observe the black and white posted speed limit. That black and white posted speed limit is the speed limit in a construction work zone whether there are workers present or not, because that's considered to be the safe speed to pass through that work zone. If workers are there and Major Kennedy's people see you exceeding that black and white posted speed limit, the fine's double. But that black and white is the speed limit in that zone, and you know, the traveling public needs to be mindful of that. And always put away distractions. Pay attention to what's in front of you. Recognize the responsibility that we all have with a driver's license, because it is a responsibility. And ask the traveling public to always buckle your seatbelt, because that's your first line of protection. Month of May is upon us. I want to talk a little bit about our safety campaign for the month of May, which is motorcycle safety. Motorcycle safety, you know, we work with the Turnpike Authority, the Department of Transportation, and the Public Safety to encourage all motorists to pay attention to safety protocols, especially around our two-wheeled transportation providers, motorcyclists, and that fits right into our Make It Home Safe, Make Oklahoma Safe safety campaign. As we get into springtime, if you were out and about over the weekend, the one thing that I noticed in particular was a significantly higher amount of motorcyclists that are out now. We all need to be paying attention because sometimes they're more difficult to see, and we need to heighten our efforts to look around us as we make lane changes and as we travel across the state. Ultimately, safe driving and riding practices and cooperation from all road users help reduce the number of fatalities and injuries on our state highways. A great way for riders to get up to speed on motorcycle safety is through the Safe Riders course offered by the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and that is taught by some of those same motorcycle troopers that are out on our network, looking after the folks that are out there traveling the Turnpike network. And that safety course addresses numerous techniques to help keep riders and other motorists safe on our highways. And I want to brag on the Highway Patrol and the level of effort that they put into that training program. And I would encourage anybody that is a motorcycle rider that has not been through that course to find one, because they do them regularly across the state of Oklahoma, and attend it, because it is very well taught. And again, they do a great job. So we really appreciate their focus and their help. And we appreciate the traveling public's attention to motorcycle safety as we get into spring and summer months, when we're going to see a lot more out there and a lot more motorcycles out there, and we certainly want them to be as safe as they possibly can. So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I appreciate the board's attention today, and I will stand for any questions or comments that you may have for me.
Any comments, questions? Thank you. That is the end of our agenda for today. Anything else to come before the board today? If not, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Berry?
Yes.
Mr. Cone?
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Yes, we're now adjourned to our next scheduled meeting for Tuesday, June the 6th, 2023 at 10 a.m. Thank you for your attendance.